My name is Hazel Jones, and I turned 30 the night I finally stopped waiting to be chosen. Growing up, my parents didn't need to tell me who their favorite was. It was obvious every time they smiled wider for my sister Jade. Every time she got the extra slice of cake, the better seat at the table, the louder applause for the smallest things. They called it just how Jade is, and I was the responsible one. The one who didn't need attention because I had it all together. That kind of label becomes a cage when you're a kid. You start believing that being low maintenance is love, that silence equals strength. By the time Jade and I were adults, nothing had changed. She'd crashed 2 cars, moved through jobs like seasons, and was still the baby. I was the one with the stable job, the mortgage, the color-coded grocery list, and apparently the invisible status that came with it. A few weeks before my 30th birthday, my boyfriend Ethan Hale asked what I wanted to do. He was leaning on the kitchen counter, half smiling, pretending not to scroll through Pinterest for cake ideas. I told him, something small, maybe dinner, a fire pit night, nothing big. But deep down, I wanted something I hadn't had in years. I wanted my parents there. So I called my mom. I didn't ask for gifts. I didn't even ask for dinner. Just, it'd be nice if you and Dad came by. We could do cake. There was a pause, long enough to tell me she was looking for an excuse. Then she sighed. Oh, honey, Jade's car is acting up again. We're helping her with repairs this month. It's costing more than we expected. Maybe next time, okay? Maybe next time. Those words could have been the slogan of my childhood. I sat on the edge of the bed after the call, phone still warm in my hand, staring at nothing. Ethan looked up from his laptop. They can't come? I shook my head. Jade's car, I said. He didn't say anything else. He just stood, came over, and hugged me. The kind of hug that tells you he's angry for you, but knows saying so won't help. So I smiled through it, because that's what I do. My birthday came, we ordered pizza. Ethan's parents came over. 2 of my closest friends brought a ridiculous unicorn-shaped cake that looked like it belonged at a 6-year-old's party. Leia, our daughter, insisted on blowing out the candles for me. She was 5, giggling with frosting on her nose. And for the first time, the laughter didn't feel forced. It felt like air after years underwater. Later that night, after Leia was asleep and the wine had settled warm in my chest, Ethan looked at me across the flicker of the fire pit. They didn't even text, did they? No, I said softly. Not even that. He nodded, then asked, So why keep trying, Hazel? The question landed like a quiet earthquake, because I didn't have an answer. The next morning, I didn't call them like I usually would. I didn't check in with Jade. I let the silence stay. Days turned to weeks. Then one afternoon, while folding laundry, I noticed a voicemail notification. It was my mom. Her voice was sugar-sweet but strained. Hazel, sweetheart, could you talk to your sister? Maybe help her get on a better track? She listens to you. I laughed out loud, really laughed, at the absurdity of it. Since when had Jade ever listened to me? But I didn't call back. That night, while Ethan read to Leia, I sat on the couch with my phone in hand, replaying that voicemail once, twice, 3 times. I thought about all the birthdays, the skipped dinners, the ignored milestones, every time I made myself small so they could be comfortable. For years, I believed if I kept showing up, they'd eventually see me. But maybe the only way they'd ever notice my absence was if I actually left. So I decided to stop chasing the people who were content to let me fade into the background. I didn't know it yet, but that small act, letting the silence stretch, was the moment everything in my family began to unravel. 3 months passed before I saw my parents again. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. Ethan was outside with Leia, painting the fence with water and a big brush, like it was the most important job in the world. I was folding laundry, humming without realizing it, when a knock came at the door. I opened it. And there they were. My mom, dressed like she'd just come back from church, and my dad, standing slightly behind her with that tired look he always wore when he didn't want to be part of the conversation. Hazel, my mom said brightly, the fake kind of bright that hides panic. We were just in the area. I hadn't spoken to them since my birthday. No text, no call, no apology. And now they were just in the area. Come in, I said flatly, stepping aside. We sat in the kitchen. I didn't offer coffee or snacks or small talk. I just waited. My mom finally sighed. Your sister's had a rough few months. Of course, it always started with Jade. Apparently, Jade had borrowed money from a friend to flip a motorcycle. The bike turned out to be stolen, and now the friend wanted his $12,500 back. Jade didn't have it. My parents didn't either. Between her overdue rent, the car tires they'd already helped pay for, and their maxed out credit cards, they were drowning. Mom's voice trembled, but her words were measured, rehearsed. We thought maybe you and Ethan could help. Just a small loan, until Jade gets back on her feet. I didn't even let her finish. No, I said simply. Mom blinked, confused. No, no. That single word hung in the air like something scandalous. Dad exhaled slowly, staring at the table. He didn't look surprised, just resigned. Mom, though, launched into her usual script. She's your sister, Hazel. She just needs support. Family sticks together. I interrupted, calm but steady. Do you remember my birthday? She frowned, taken aback. What? My 30th, the one you couldn't come to because of Jade's car. Her mouth tightened. Hazel, that's not... I kept going. I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for gifts. I asked for you, and you said no, because Jade needed help again. Silence. Dad looked up then, his voice low. Your mother's just trying to... fix things? Yeah, I've done that my whole life. For years, I had been the emotional glue, the problem solver, the steady one who held the family together while they poured everything into Jade, and now the irony was sharp. They wanted my help cleaning up the mess I warned them about. My mom blinked hard, her jaw set. You've always been so cold, Hazel, so distant. I felt something inside me break, but not in a painful way, more like a shackle snapping open. You raised me to be this way, I said quietly. You made sure I knew I was on my own. Ethan stepped into the kitchen then, his hands still speckled with water from Leia's painting project. He glanced at my parents, at me, and instantly read the tension. What's going on? He asked evenly. Mom straightened in her chair. We're just asking Hazel and you to help Jade out. Because that's what family does. Ethan didn't even hesitate. You skipped your daughter's birthday for her, he said. I think we're good. Mom's face flushed. Dad stood, mumbling. Let's go, Janet. They left without another word. The door clicked shut, and the quiet afterward felt like standing in the middle of a storm that had just passed. I leaned back against the counter, exhaling shakily. Ethan looked at me, his expression softening. You okay? I think so, I said. For once. But of course, things didn't end there. That week, the messages started. Texts from Mom about family and second chances. I didn't reply. Then came the voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. When people are used to you carrying all the weight, the moment you set it down, suddenly you're the problem. And then, one night, as I was reading to Leia, my phone lit up again. Mom's name on the screen. I ignored it. But the voicemail that followed made me pause. Hazel, I don't know what else to do. Jade's in trouble again. Please call us back. Her voice cracked on the last word. Something told me this wasn't just another financial disaster. I didn't know it yet, but that voicemail was about to change everything. It was a Tuesday morning. Ordinary, messy, loud. Leia had a meltdown over mismatched socks. Ethan couldn't find his work badge, and I was gulping cold coffee while mentally drafting 3 overdue reports. When the phone rang with an unknown number, I almost ignored it. But something, maybe that voice in the back of my mind that never truly rests, told me to pick up. Hello? Is this Hazel Jones? The voice was calm, official, clipped. This is Officer Delaney with the County Sheriff's Department. My stomach dropped. Yes? We have your sister, Jade Reynolds, in custody. The words didn't even sound real at first. I'd braced for another car repair or rent issue, not custody. He went on to explain, professional but not unkind. Jade had been arrested for multiple theft and fraud charges, stealing money, property, even identities from people she knew. Friends, roommates, an ex-boyfriend. Apparently, she'd been pawning other people's belongings and funneling the cash into online gambling, all while juggling fake accounts to cover her tracks. It wasn't petty, it was deliberate. I just stood there, frozen, listening as the officer asked the question I half expected. Could you assist in any way? Bail, legal counsel, anything that might help her situation? There was a long pause before I said it. No, I can't. He hesitated. Understood, ma'am. And that was it. The call ended. I set my phone down on the counter and stared at the sink full of dishes. The noise of the morning seemed far away, like it belonged to another life. Ethan walked in a few minutes later, adjusting his tie. You okay? You look like you saw a ghost. I told him what happened. He didn't look shocked, just tired. The same kind of tired I'd seen in myself for years. What did you say? He asked. I said no. He nodded once. Good. That night, I lay awake long after he'd fallen asleep, staring at the ceiling. I didn't cry, didn't even feel anger, just a strange hollowness, like I was watching a movie I'd already seen. The next afternoon, my mom called. Her voice cracked before she even said hello. No pretense this time, no small talk. Hazel, it's Jade. I know, I interrupted softly. She exhaled sharply, then went into full panic mode. They're saying bail is over 10,000. Your father and we don't have that kind of money. If we all pitch in... Mom, no. Please, she's not a bad person. She just lost her way. She needs help. I closed my eyes. She's 32 years old. She's had help every day of her life. That's why she's like this. There was silence. Then the guilt trip began. Hazel, how can you be so cold? She's your sister. I didn't raise my voice, but I felt the steel in my words. You raised me to be this way, remember? You made sure I knew I was on my own. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just breathed into the phone like the air had been punched out of her. Please, she whispered, don't do this to us. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm just not saving you anymore. I hung up. That night, the guilt clawed at me. The old, familiar guilt that told me I was cruel for choosing peace. But underneath it was something new, something cleaner, relief. Days passed, then a week. Until one morning, a text from Dad. Your mother's not sleeping. Jade's arraignment is next week. Maybe you could give a character statement. Just something to help the judge see she has family who cares. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. You mean the family that skipped my 30th because her car needed fixing? No response. By then, the story was spreading. Bits and pieces twisted by small-town gossip. A woman from their church messaged me on Facebook. So proud of you for standing by your sister and helping with the lawyer fees. I blinked at the screen. What lawyer fees? They were rewriting history, making me the hero in a story I never agreed to be part of. Ethan read the message over my shoulder and muttered, let them talk. They're used to their own version of reality. But that version was starting to spread. And the next time my parents showed up at my door, it wasn't with apologies. It was with suitcases. I opened the door and froze. My parents stood on the porch with 2 suitcases and matching looks of quiet expectation, like this was normal, like I should have seen it coming. Mom gave a sheepish smile. We thought we could stay here for a little while, just until things settle. Settle? I repeated. What does that even mean? Dad cleared his throat. The house is gone. We refinanced to cover Jade's legal bills. Then the bank called in the debt. I felt my pulse in my ears. You refinanced your house for her? Mom's voice wobbled. We didn't have a choice. She's our daughter. So am I. The words came out before I could stop them. They hung there, heavier than I expected. She blinked. Hazel, that's not fair. Fair? I laughed, short and sharp. You skipped my 30th birthday for her. You drained your savings for her, and now you're standing at my door expecting me to fix it? Dad's face fell. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. We thought you'd understand, he murmured. I do, I said, my voice steady. I understand that you've been protecting Jade from consequences her entire life, and now you want me to protect you from yours. Mom's eyes welled up. Hazel, we're family. We need each other. I shook my head. No, Mom, you need rescuing. I need peace. For the first time, I didn't move aside to let them in. Dad looked down, embarrassed. Mom whispered, You'll regret this someday. Maybe, I said, but at least the regret will be mine. They left without another word. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. The silence in the house was different now, heavier. Ethan came in quietly, drying his hair with a towel. They came, didn't they? Yeah, I whispered, with suitcases. He didn't even flinch. And you said no. I nodded. He smiled faintly. Good. Then softer. Proud of you. His calmness was grounding, the kind of stillness you only learn from loving someone who's constantly bracing for impact. But peace never lasts long in a family addicted to chaos. 2 days later, Mom texted again. I hope you never need help the way we do now. I stared at that message for 10 minutes. The words were meant to hurt, a dagger disguised as sentiment, but all I felt was exhaustion. I didn't reply. A week passed. Then an envelope arrived in the mail, my name written in familiar, looping handwriting. Jade. I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a 6-page letter, part apology, part performance. She started by saying she'd made mistakes, but wasn't a bad person, that she was scared and sorry. Then came the shift, the same manipulative charm she'd always used. Mom and Dad said you could probably help me get out early. You've always been the strong one, Hazel. I need you. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into the drawer of my nightstand. Not to keep, but because throwing it away felt like giving it power. Days turned to weeks. Rumors kept spreading that I'd paid her lawyer, that I was helping my parents relocate, that I was the rock of the family. Every time I heard it, something inside me twisted, because it wasn't just false, it was insulting. They were rewriting the story to make me the savior, not because they believed it, but because it made them look better. Ethan caught me scrolling through the gossip on my phone one evening. "You can't control their narrative, Hazel," he said. "I know," I muttered. "But they're turning me into someone I'm not." He placed a hand over mine. "Then live in truth, not in their version." It was simple advice, but it stuck. That night, I wrote one final text to my mother. "Please stop spreading lies about what I've done. I'm not involved in any of this. I wish you peace, but I need distance." No response, just seen. For months, I heard nothing, until one morning in early spring when my mom's name flashed on my phone again. Her voice was small this time, stripped of all its usual control. "Hazel, they caught Jade again. She's been running scams from inside prison. The police found a phone in her cell. They said she was pretending to be an investment broker." I didn't say anything. Mom started sobbing. "Please, she listens to you. Maybe if you talk to her." I felt Ethan's hand on my shoulder as he whispered, "You don't owe them that." He was right, but part of me still couldn't ignore it. Maybe I needed to hear Jade's voice one last time, to understand what kind of person she'd become, and what kind of sister I still wanted to be. So I agreed. "I'll talk to her," I said quietly. I didn't know it yet, but that decision, that one act of reluctant mercy, would become the beginning of true closure. The county correctional facility was nothing like I imagined. Colder, quieter, and somehow emptier than any place I'd ever been. A guard led me through a hallway lined with fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly, as if even the building itself was tired. Each door clanged shut behind us, and with every echo, I felt my resolve harden. When I finally reached the visitation room, I saw Jade through the glass. Her once perfect blonde hair was dull now, cut unevenly. Her eyes, the same shade as mine, carried something unfamiliar. Fear, maybe, or shame. She picked up the phone first, forcing a shaky smile. "I knew you'd come," she said. I sat down slowly, taking the receiver. "You sound sure of that." "Mom said you would," she admitted. "You always do." That sentence landed like a punch, not because it was cruel, but because it was true. I'd always come. When she ran out of money, when she wrecked her car, when she lied and cried her way through life, I always came. Not this time. I took a slow breath. "Why, Jade, why do you keep doing this?" She shrugged, looking away. "I don't know. It's like, once you mess up, it's easier to just keep going than to fix it." "That's not an excuse," I said quietly. Her eyes flicked back to mine. "You think I don't know that? You think I haven't replayed every mistake in my head?" Her voice cracked. "I never wanted to end up like this." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But all I saw was the same pattern. Guilt as currency, confession as manipulation. "Mom and Dad are falling apart," she added. "They said you won't even talk to them." "They're adults," I said. "They made choices. So did you." "So did you," she shot back, bitterness flaring. "You chose to leave us." That hit deep, but I didn't flinch. "I didn't leave, Jade. I just stopped letting you pull me under." She stared at me, tears welling. "You sound just like Mom." "No," I said. "Mom covers for you. I don't." The guard tapped the glass. Time was running out. Jade leaned closer, desperation leaking into her tone. "Please, Hazel, just talk to them. Tell the judge I'm not a bad person. Tell them I can change." I studied her for a long moment. The truth was, maybe she could, but it wasn't my job to prove it anymore. I spoke slowly, deliberately. "No one is coming to save you this time, Jade. Not them, not me." She froze, and for the first time, she didn't argue. Just sat there, eyes wide, breathing shallow. "I hope," I said softly, "you finally learn what being accountable feels like." The guard opened the door. I stood, setting the phone down. "Hazel," Jade called as I turned away. "Are you angry at me?" I paused at the threshold. "Not anymore." And I meant it. As I walked out into the gray afternoon light, the air hit different, sharp and clean, like stepping out of someone else's dream. I'd spent 30 years trying to be the glue that held everyone together. Now I was learning how to live without sticking to anyone at all. A month later, Jade was sentenced to an additional 2 years for the phone scam. Mom called that night, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "She doesn't deserve this," she cried. "She's just misunderstood." I didn't argue. For the first time in my life, I realized I didn't owe them an explanation. Instead, I said quietly, "Mom, maybe she finally got what she needed." There was silence on the other end, the kind of silence that comes when truth finally lands. She whispered, "You're so cold." And I said, "No, Mom, I'm just done burning." I hung up and exhaled, feeling the weight leave my chest. For the first time in decades, my family's chaos didn't belong to me. And the peace that followed, that steady, unremarkable peace, was the sweetest thing I'd ever known. Spring arrived slowly that year. Gentle winds, soft rain, a world trying to start over. It had been months since I last heard from my parents. Months since Jade's new sentence. Months since I'd felt that familiar knot of anxiety every time my phone buzzed. I didn't realize how much peace weighed until I finally got to carry it. Life became simple. Morning walks with Leia before school, dinner on the porch with Ethan, weekends that didn't revolve around someone else's crisis. Then, one Sunday afternoon, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, my parents stood there again. But this time they looked smaller. Not physically, but in spirit. No performance, no pretense, just tired people with soft eyes. Mom spoke first. "We're not here for money." "I didn't think you were," I said carefully. She took a shaky breath. "We just wanted to see you, and Leia." I hesitated, searching her face for the familiar manipulation, but it wasn't there. For once, she wasn't trying to rewrite anything. She was just showing up. So I stepped aside. "Come in." In the kitchen, Mom held her cup of tea with both hands like it was an anchor. Dad stared at the floor, then said quietly, "We failed you, Hazel. We failed both of you." I didn't say anything. Sometimes silence is kinder than pretending to know what forgiveness looks like. Mom wiped her eyes. "We thought protecting Jade meant loving her. We didn't realize it meant destroying her." She looked at me. "And we didn't see what we were doing to you." Her voice cracked on the last word. For the first time, she didn't justify it. She didn't beg. She just owned it. Leia came running in then, her laughter filling the room. My mom smiled softly at her. Not the old, tight smile of guilt, but something gentler, humbler. She didn't stay long. Neither of them did. They said they were renting a small duplex near Dad's old workplace, working part-time, budgeting, starting fresh. Before they left, Mom touched my hand and whispered, "Thank you for opening the door." And somehow that was enough. Weeks turned into months. They started visiting occasionally, not to ask for help, just to bring homemade soup or check on Leia's school projects. Every visit was short, respectful, easy. Dad called once, out of the blue. "You were right to walk away, Hazel," he said. "You were the only one thinking clearly." I didn't cry, but something in me softened. Then the letters started coming, from Jade. The first one was careful, handwritten in neat, nervous lines. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't make excuses. "I've been working in the kitchen here," she wrote. "Got my GED. Reading again. There's a quiet girl who sits with me sometimes. We talk about what we'd do differently if we ever get another chance." I read it twice, then tucked it into the same drawer where I'd once hidden her old manipulative letter, the one that had asked me to save her. Except this time, I didn't feel anger. Just peace. The next letter came a month later. "I don't expect forgiveness," she wrote, "but I was proud to be your sister even when I was a mess." I didn't reply. Not yet. But I didn't throw it away either. One evening, I sat outside as the sun melted into gold behind the trees. Ethan came out with 2 mugs of tea, handing me one without saying a word. Leia's laughter drifted from inside, pure and unguarded. "I think," Ethan said quietly, "you finally got the life you always deserved." I smiled. Not perfect, but peaceful. He nodded. "Sometimes that's better." I looked out at the yard, the fence Leia had once painted with water now weathered by real rain. It felt like a symbol of everything we'd survived. My family wasn't fixed, but they were learning, and maybe that was enough. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for the next crisis or apology. I wasn't rehearsing pain. I was living. Scarred, but not broken. Humbled, but free. Quiet, but finally seen. And when I thought of Jade, of my parents, of every wound that once felt permanent, I realized something simple. Peace doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means the storm finally stopped.